Hello and welcome everybody to the first episode of Psych Talks with Teachers. I'm your host, Misbah Shah, Director at iChas and iChas Support Foundation. Today we have with us Dr. Ruchi Dubey Chaturvedi to talk to us about abnormal psychology. And before I begin, so whoever is watching us today, feel free to ask questions that you have in the comment section and we'll surely answer them. And you can also start a watch party so that your Facebook friends and family can benefit out of it. A little bit about the organization ICHAS and ICHAS Support Foundation. We focus and we help and complement the mental health care practitioners in developing advanced coaching and therapeutic skills. So yeah, that's about the organization and about our guest today, Dr. Ruchi. She is an associate professor, Department of Psychology in Jai Hind College. She has been teaching since more than 2 decades now. She's also a vice principal of arts faculty at Jai Hind College. She's a master trainer in life skills as she trains faculty and students in life skills. Dr. Ruchi is also a secretary at Mumbai Psychological Association. She is an executive committee member of Indian Association of Life Skills Education and has also been a president with the Maharashtra State Chapter of Indian Association of Life Skills Education. So we welcome you, Dr. Ruchi, to the first episode of Psych Talks with Teachers, and we are very happy to have you.
Thank you, Misbah. Thank you so much. And it's a very good initiative which you people have undertaken. It's going to benefit the students as well as other mental health practitioners also, because moment you are doing any kind of a practice with mental health, there has to be a great connect between the practitioners and the young budding psychologists, and also those people who at some point are going to take up something in psychology. They might be dwelling currently in other fields, but suddenly the interest component jumps up. So for them also, it's a beautiful orientation program. Very well done. I'm very,
Absolutely.
very happy with this initiative.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It's really a privilege when it comes from a teachers and academicians. Then it gives a great it's a great opportunity for us also. So, ma'am, before we go ahead, I am going to make an announcement about recently we have started with a mental health practitioner challenge, which all of us
Yeah.
are doing. So, basically, I would request all the mental health practitioners who are watching us that this challenge is about creating an awareness to all the people, especially mental health practitioners, as well as to public in general, that in case anytime we have any kind of overwhelming feelings or confusion or stress or anxiety or any emotional or mental discomfort, we should seek a support and help from mental health care practitioners. And also, people who are watching us, I would want to, request you to pledge. So you can actually put it into the comment section that you will take up this initiative of pledging that you will seek a help and support from mental health practitioners as and when you require, and also pass it on to other practitioners. We are using the hashtags of MHP visit MHP. We are using a hashtag of MHP practitioners. We are using a hashtag of why wait till the disorder. So please go ahead, who all people who are watching us, that pledge it, that will create an awareness and will also seek help as and when we require from our mental health care practitioners. So please go ahead and do that. And coming back to ma'am, we will start with our discussion for the day, which is about abnormal psychology. So ma'am, can you brief us about what is the subject all about?
Yeah, basically, going by the Mumbai University syllabus, if you go very, very crisp to that, so abnormal psychology is nothing but at BA level, we call it as abnormal psychology. At the MA and higher up, it becomes the field on clinical psychology. So in Jai Hind College, we call it as clinical perspectives of psychological disorders. So this is a wide spectrum of field, which is basically covering lifespan developmental issues, various disorders which starts from infancy and going into the late adulthood. So when you talk about the field of clinical psychology stroke abnormal psychology, everything which is dealing with feelings, which is dealing with emotions, behavioral tendencies, with other type of interactions which people have, and then also with the type of interaction. When I say, I'm talking in terms of interpersonal and intrapersonal levels. So all
Okay.
these type of things which and experiences which people have, so everything which you don't consider to be what we call as normal within quotes, everything becomes part and parcel of this study. And the most important thing when you learn more and more about this field is you'll realize there is no sharp division between what you consider as normal and what you consider as abnormal. There is no
Wow.
sharp dichotomy. So what you have to do when you learn about this field, you'll start appreciating the various factors at the personal level, societal level, cultural level, the racial factors, religious, community factors, which does define something what is called as normal in a particular context and not so normal in the other context. So when you read about more and more about the disorders, various type of psychological disorders, you start really gaining a lot of awareness, and you start observing your own self better and people around you better. So that is, I feel, the best part about this particular field.
Absolutely, ma'am. I think it's very well put across and explained by you that there's a very thin line between the normal and what we call the abnormal with all the context, the stratas that you define. Sure, ma'am. So I'm going to quickly take a look at we can quickly say a hi to everybody who's joined us online. You won't be able to see, but you can just say if
Yeah,
you are
hi,
on Facebook. Hi to
welcome.
everybody. Thank you. Hi and welcome, and thank you for joining us. And looking forward to any kind of questions that you have with respect to the topic of abnormal psychology. Ma'am is here to help us understand it in a more detailed manner. So, hello everybody. Pratibha, Venkatraman, and Rashmi, and Hemlata, Nathan, Pallavi, Sanjana, Pushpagiri. Hi, good to see you back. Hi, Pari. Great. So we are going to move forward to our next question. That is, ma'am, what is the importance of this subject? In general, while you're learning psychology for psychology students, and yeah, so for
Yeah.
psychology students.
Yeah, see, when you learn this particular subject, you'll realize two important aspects which I would like to stress here. First is whenever you're talking about psychological disorders, we are going ahead with two types of categorization. One is a categorization which we call as the DSM-5, which is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, which is the one which is followed in America and Canada, and it's been developed and published by the American Psychiatric Association, the APA. Very, very famous.
Right,
And in India,
right,
we have a general tendency of following their categorization. So, what they have done is they have given a descriptive analysis of various kinds of disorders, and they have put them in very discrete categories, which are 22. Parallel to that, there is also a categorization which is used by World Health Organization. Now, they also
right,
have an international categorization of diseases which they have, and it is little different from what the DSM gives us. Now DSM-5 is the one which worldwide people have accepted. So this is
right,
something which you have to remember, that how the things are categorized, because when you start talking about a patient, or what we call nowadays as a client, we don't use the
right,
word as a patient now. So the moment
right,
a client comes to a clinician, which could be any mental health practitioner, it is very
right,
important to understand the constellation of symptoms, what are the various contextual factors, personal factors of that person, to put him properly in a different, what we call as a differential diagnosis. If your diagnosis and categorization is not accurate, it's going to hamper your treatment plan for that particular client.
absolutely.
This is one important thing. So please remember, if you want to study anything about psychological disorders, either you go by the WHO classification, or you follow DSM-5. This is one thing. The other important aspect about the field of clinical psychology is that we are talking about currently called a biopsychosocial perspective, which means, now look at the three terms which have become a one term now. That means whenever
Mm-hmm.
you're talking about any psychological disorders, anything, it could be sleep wake cycles, it could be elimination disorder. One of the most talked and investigated, something dealing with schizophrenia. People have dealt about talked a lot about impulse control disorder, anything, neurodevelopmental disorders, neurocognitive disorders. whenever you deal with any of this disorder, the important thing is you have a biological component to it, you have a psychological component to it, dealing with feelings, emotions, experiences, interactions of the person at an individual level, and you also have a very large component which we call as the social aspect to it. So biopsychosocial perspective and approach is what we are using today. Now, if you talk about a very layman term which we use, most of us we have heard, is an interaction of nature versus nurture, which
Yes,
means
yes.
what is your heredity and what are your environmental factors
Mental
around you,
facts.
which is what is making you what you are today. So, and which means nothing but heredity versus environmental factors. So, whatever disorders we read, we understand, you have to first go by the classification which you want to study. The classification system are always mentioned on clinical psychology books, on abnormal psychology books, first of all. So don't go with both of them. Either use the WHO or you use the DSM-5 as prescribed by APA, which is the one which we are generally using, the latter one. And then you just go ahead with any particular disorder. As you are moving from one to the other page, you'll realize so many components of the disorder have been discussed. Now, apart from all that, we also, at least the psychology students who have even done psychology in 11th and 12th, they would know that
Mhm.
there are different schools of psychology. You can talk
Right.
about Freudian psychoanalytics perspective, you can talk about the humanistic, you can talk about the cognitive perspective, you can talk about the behaviorist. There are so many schools of psychology. So when you're dealing with a disorder, apart from biopsychosocial aspect, these schools are talking about the same disorder from their own perspective. So it's very important to have these basic knowledge and understanding as you are going and trying to understand one disorder from the next disorder. Okay, so please remember, first of all, see which classification you are studying in a nutshell. I'm telling you. Second, every disorder will have a bio, psycho, and social perspective. Second, third, important is that in each, if even if you're talking something like impulse control disorder, or you're talking of attention deficit hyperactive disorder, ADHD, you're talking of autistic disorder. So when you are talking, when it's being discussed by a psychoanalyst versus behaviorist versus a cognitive perspective versus a humanistic perspective, everyone is giving you the understanding of the disorder from their own perspective. More and more you explore it and read it, the wider becomes your horizon and the wider becomes your understanding of that particular disorder. Maybe you might not relate to psychoanalysis. Moment you are seeing a behaviorist perspective, that might just click to you. So it's very important to go very, very slowly, pick up one disorder, try to understand the different perspectives and dimensions of that disorder. After you feel you are comfortable with that, then start studying the other disorder. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Misbah.
Yeah. I think, ma'am, absolutely makes sense to go by the order, and you very well put it across that it's important to know the base of the subject before going ahead with the diagnosis and the plan of action, right? So I think it
Totally,
really makes
totally.
sense. Totally, yeah. So all the psychology students are there. I'm sure there are practicing psychologists also watching us and psychology students also watching us. It's a very amazing opportunity today that ma'am is here and she's giving us a very clear bifurcation and detailed understanding of how one should go. See, at times ऐसा होता है कि सब बोलते हैं कि ऐसे follow करो वैसे follow करो, but कोई हमें
Correct.
ऐसे नहीं बताता कि exactly क्या follow करना है. And in today's session, we are getting that clarity that कैसे step by step जाना है. How do you go about
True.
diagnosing first, understanding the subjects, each and every subject first, and then going ahead with the plan of action. So yeah, it absolutely
Correct.
makes sense, ma'am. I'm just going to take up if there are any questions that
Sure.
the viewers have asked us. So
Hmm.
I think there are questions about discuss about normal psychology. That's what we are doing, Sadia. You can continue watching us. Parinita has asked about what which is accepted by WHO. Parinita, can you elaborate on your question? Then it will help us to discuss it further. So yeah, and also she's
WHO has given us international classification of diseases. That is their manual for their classification. And
Okay.
DSM-5 has been given by American Psychiatric Association, and generally in India we are following the APA system. So
AP.
even even when people are writing any research papers, doing anything, all the categorization, all the bibliography references, we are all following APA, which is globally more acceptable.
Absolutely. So I think, Parinita, that gives you a clarity about it. And which school is widely accepted? That's just recently what ma'am answered you. It's about it's APA that is generally followed. Um, there's a question, ma'am, from Divya Raj about how to overcome from post-traumatic disorder. I think that's what he meant.
PTSD.
Yeah,
PTSD. Yeah.
yeah.
See, whenever people face any kind of traumas, it could be the death of a near and dear one. What the pandemic has made us, it's been glaringly aware that we are all vulnerable. It could be any kind of accident which you face. People have had because of downsizing and this thing, people have been overnight become unemployed. It could be any kind of a trauma. First of all, you have to understand the fact that trauma differs from individual to individual. So what one
Absolutely.
particular person considers as traumatic might not be traumatic for the other person. Okay, so whatever may be the trauma, okay, the nature of trauma, I would say, generally under psychology and the
Mhm.
understanding which mental health practitioners have is we give a 1 to 3 months recovery time to the client. Okay, even if the person has not approached a clinician, in general the person who's suffering the trauma, between 1 to 3 months the person should start showing some functional mechanisms of coping with the trauma. Yeah. And
Okay.
if it does not happen, then it is definitely the time for the person to approach a mental health practitioner. Now these mental health practitioners can be any. It could be a psychiatrist, it could be a clinical psychologist, it could be a counselor, it could be a social worker. So any person whom the person feels comfortable with, the person needs to approach them. Now depending on
Absolutely.
his nature of trauma, depending on the magnitude, duration, depending on what level of functioning which we see the person is balancing at today, accordingly different type of treatment plans are given. So it could be maybe the psychiatrist might just think that little bit of medication might de-stress the person, reduces anxiety and panic. Maybe a clinical
Right.
therapist psychologist might think that little bit of a counseling session and little bit of a psychotherapy might help. Okay, so all
Mhm.
these are what we call a term which we call as modality. Modality
Right.
means maybe I call you for an individual therapy. Maybe I realize that maybe the person requires family support. So I might decide not doing an individual therapy with that person to cope up with PTSD, that's post traumatic stress disorder. I might call some family members. I might, and they're in this kind of a pandemic where all of us have shared so many similar experiences. I might carry out a
Right.
group therapy. I might carry out a community therapy. I might send my mental health practitioners to a particular locality and just give a talk for people to feel little high in spirits and feelings of well-being. So it depends from client to client. But generally, 1 to 3 months is a time duration given for a person to start coping with the whatever trauma he has and to jump back to some form of normalcy.
Absolutely, ma'am. I think very well put across, ma'am. So obviously, once again, we are stressing on the words that do consult a mental health care practitioner whenever the need arises. There's a
Yeah.
question, ma'am, that we study DSM in the undergrad and the postgrad, but they teach us the ICD during masters, during MPhil, clinical
Correct.
psychology training. So, can you shed some light on it? Uh,
See,
I think
that
I
all depends on what is the curriculum which is being followed from university to university. Because,
okay,
as I
okay.
said, the benchmark for everyone to learn, and in a
Mhm,
very descriptive and a categories created beautifully, categorization which is there, DSM
mhm.
becomes a very useful manual for people to refer to. Now, as you are practicing in this particular field, and you as a practitioner also have to grow in your knowledge. That's when this
Mhm.
international classification of diseases also becomes part and parcel of what you can learn. But initially, we are introducing students to only DSM 5. That is the thing. Otherwise, there's no end to it. It's something like, I'll give you a personal example, is something about life skills, which WHO has stressed that children as young as 2 years should be taught about life skills, because the type
Wow.
of world which they are facing, everyone should be aware of what is life skill and start building in you. Now, when you see the simple term of life skills, you go to the internet and start looking at it. Various organizations which are dealing with mental health issues have defined life skills, categorized life skills in a different manner. Like
Mm-hmm.
ILSE, the Indian Association of Life Skill
Yes.
Education, is following a WHO classification. But
Right.
accordingly, there are, and where we classify it into three broad categories. But there are other classification system also which are talking about life skills in a different manner. So there is a there I would not say anything is foolproof. Like she's talking about DSM versus the international classification of diseases. Now the important thing is, you can broaden your horizon, you can gain as much knowledge as possible, and then see whichever suits you, and you feel that this is more appropriate for the clients which you have, you can stick to that. There is nothing that one is better than the other, nothing of the kind at all.
Absolutely. Right. Yeah, absolutely makes sense, ma'am. There is one more question from Parinita.
Yeah.
Can you, if somebody is looking to do an MPhil, could you suggest some sources like books or topics to prepare for the entrance exam for RCI
Yeah.
registration, registered
Yeah, see,
college?
yeah. See, we have had a lot of webinars I organize for my own students. First, you have
Right.
to, there are a lot of universities. I must tell the students here, and the students who have to pursue higher education, please find out whether the MPhil degree, the universities are still offering or not. Are they valid or not? Because there is a trend which has started where MPhil is mostly discontinued by most of the universities. Okay, so I'm talking about Indian universities, of course.
Okay.
Now whenever people do, like, why most of the people, or I'd say my generation, have done MPhil, is basically MPhil is a independent research which you do, which is a kind of a introductory research work which you undertake, and with the hope that tomorrow when you are doing a elaborate PhD, you might just become some threads out of that MPhil, and you elaborate it further and you go for a PhD degree. So depending on your own field of interest, depending on the type of guides which are available to guide you for MPhil and PhD, that's how you decide your field, your university. That's very important, because there are some universities which have only MPhil and PhD offered in clinical psychology. Suppose you are
Mhm.
interested in industrial psychology, social psychology, developmental psychology, then accordingly you have to see where these universities are offering those type of research work.
Subject.
And research work
Right.
is completely dependent on the research guides which are available. So that is how you have to go about deciding which particular university is most suitable for you.
Okay. I think, Parinita, that answers your question, ma'am. I have a question with regards to what you said
Sure,
that
sure, Ms. Basha. Yeah.
earlier MPhil was done as a starting point to do further pursuing PhD. Is there any
Yeah.
alternate right now that students can
No,
look for?
no, nothing. It's
No.
either
So
MPhil
they
or
did.
a PhD. Mostly nowadays, people are going in for PhD. See, at the time when I was doing my PhD, there is a national eligibility test which is conducted by University Grants Commission. It's a all
Right.
India test, and you have to appear for your own subject. So, people from economics will sit for the NET exam for economics, etc. It tests your general aptitude as well as subject-based knowledge. So people earlier, this I'm talking somewhere in 1990s, early 1990s, and end of 80s, where people who were net qualified were given the option that they can do PhD directly if they clear that
Wow.
particular national eligibility test exam. And those who did not clear it were supposed to do a MPhil and then move on to PhD. So
Okay.
it all depends, and as I said, from university university, the rules keep changing from time to time. So it's very important to see what is the current rule which is being followed by a particular university.
Right. I think the students watching us would get a lot of understanding. You know, these are the smaller things at times we miss on, or at times we have to struggle to find out when you're looking for different subjects that you want to pursue and universities that you want to pursue. And I think with man's expansive knowledge of the subject and about the universities, the way they function, it gives you a very ready reckoner to take it right now, that you're getting whatever understanding you're getting from her, just absorb it, right? So ma'am, there's one more question.
Yeah.
So the question continues from Parinita only, that she's saying
Okay.
that
Okay.
in that case she was asking about the pursuing of MPhil.
Yeah.
She's asking that if clinical psychology, then how to crack the examination, entrance examination. Any tips
No,
that you
no.
would like to share?
Nothing. Because see, there are PET exams which are conducted, which is the pre-entrance test, which is done for PhD students also. Now,
Hmm.
whenever these tests are done, they are just testing your subject knowledge. As simple as that.
Okay.
So even
Okay.
for the net exam, it's subject knowledge, nothing else. And in general, some bit of a general aptitude testing is also seen. Your verbal reasoning, abstract reasoning, and your speed at which you can process data, which is, I would say, very common across many entrance tests. Even same thing with the CAT, with the other MBA exam, it's the same thread. So the way to prepare in
Right.
case a particular university also has this general aptitude test, the way people prepare for a general aptitude test in the CAT exam, for the MBA exam, you can start sitting online and start preparing from home by attempting those test papers of theirs. And they give you enough tips. And your subject knowledge
Absolutely.
has to be really thorough.
Yeah,
That
that's
way. Yeah.
important. I think, Parinita, that answers your question. Um, okay. She's also asked another question, that can you throw some light on MPhil, in which stream is good?
No, this is a very individualistic opinion. As what is she's in which year? I would like to know, Parinita.
Parinita, can you just let us know? I think she is starting to pursue, or she's already pursuing
Yeah.
masters.
Okay, because see what
So,
happens is as different universities are orienting students in the field of psychology during the undergraduation levels,
mhm,
they are teaching them different subjects, different fields, I would say. That means different papers are dealing with different fields of psychology. So we are teaching them papers on social psychology, developmental psychology, clinical psychology, industrial psychology, counseling, every
mhm,
possible field of psychology, as different papers are introduced during the undergraduation levels. Okay, so as
absolutely.
students read and study and prepare for those papers, you automatically start getting little more excited, little more caught on with some particular papers as compared to others. As simple as that. So whether you might find your counseling paper is something which really catches your interest, relative to clinical, relative to industrial, that means counseling is your field. If there is a social psychology paper which is dealing with various social phenomena, maybe interpersonal attraction, mob psychology, and stereotypes, prejudices, maybe that is something which really attracts you. So depending on your field of interest at your personal level, you should go in for that particular field. So a lot of students ask this, that ma'am, what is the scope of this versus that? There is nothing like that at all. All these fields of psychology have got equivalent scopes. But today there should
Mhm.
not be a mismatch between your interest and the scope which you felt a particular field had. It should be the best fit. Your interest,
Right.
your aptitude matching with the field in which you want to pursue in. So don't go by the status symbol of a particular field. Some people say we must do industrial psychology because you enter a corporate world. People are very unhappy in corporate world too, sitting in the HR department, and then suddenly you realize your temperament and nature was such that you should have gone in for counseling. So what I feel
Right.
is, you use your heart when you are reading your different fields, let it flow, and then use your head later, and then you put the two together, heart and mind, and then decide which is your field of interest. Like, I'll give you a very simple example. When I was doing my graduation from Delhi University and PG and higher studies from there, industrial psychology was a craze at that time, real craze, which is nothing but human resource management, organizational behavior field. Now there are various terms: organizational development, they use OB, OD, HR. Okay, HRM, human resource management, too many
Management.
abbreviations have come up. It was plainly called as industrial psychology at that time. So it was, there was so much of craze and so much of scope for that. Most of us flowed with that. I have seen a reversal of trend now. I see that most of the students are more hooked on to clinical psychology and the field of counseling now. Now, why this is so?
Yes.
Whenever I think that in these 20 to 30 decades, there have been so much of changes. Maybe the societal, the cultural, and the familial factors have undergone a metamorphosis. Why it is
Mhm.
happening is because with so many issues coming our way, people feel that
Mhm.
counseling and clinical is more relevant than a
Mhm.
HR management field. So these things will keep changing. It's something like a engineering branches. Some go higher in popularity chart, others decline. Suddenly, after 5 to 6 days, there's a reversal of trend. So you should not go by this at all. You should go by what excites you, what catches your attention more, and which you feel will be the best fit for your nature, temperament, and then go ahead with
Absolutely. I think, ma'am, I can relate to what you said about, because I've done my MBA in HR and I'm also
that.
pursuing along with the psychology. So I can totally relate to it. So I think,
True, true.
Varanita, that answers your question well. There's a question, ma'am, from Suman Lata. A PG in psychology by an recognized UGC distance course can be eligible for PhD? That's the question that she's asked.
No, I couldn't understand the question. That means she is doing a PG by a
So
distance education program. Is that so?
she's,
Am I right about it?
I'll
Yeah,
read the question. A
sure,
PG
sure.
in psychology from a recognized UGC recognized university. That's what she said. Distance course can be so it's a
Yeah,
PG in
understood.
psychology recognized UGC distance course,
Yeah,
and she's
understood. So
asking
it's a
if they
correspondence
are
course.
eligible. Yes, it's a
Yeah,
correspondence
totally,
course,
totally,
and
totally.
can they pursue PhD?
Yeah, yeah, totally. Even under Mumbai University, we have IDOL, the which is the Institute for Distance Education. Psychology is offered. In fact, IGNU offers MA in psychology too. They are all very recognized
Yes,
PG courses in psychology, and later on, the people will have no problems pursuing any other higher research in it, as long as it's a UGC well recognized and
recognized.
established institute. So which means your
Absolutely.
degree is not dubious at all. So you can do research completely, there's no problem at all. And many in fact many good students I know, which pursue MA from distance education, basically because they want to do internships, they want to do certain jobs, and that is why they have opted for a correspondence course instead of a regular course. A lot of brilliant students
Right.
do that. And abroad also it's a big trend, because you can't just sit and do your MA. You need to earn you need to do
Yes,
dwell on
yes.
many other things. So absolutely fine, there is nothing which goes against these such students at all.
I think that would come across as a relief to a lot of people who are looking
Yeah,
forward to pursue distance education, and they always have the doubts whether full time course
correct.
अच्छा रहेगा या distance course अच्छा रहेगा.
See, psychology में
So
हम
there's
कहेंगे कि regular courses on always better. There's no doubt about it. But the way I have seen over the years, the way the IDOL and the IGDU courses have come up, where the biggest problem is practical based subjects. How do you carry out practicals? You can't just have theory
yes,
in psychology. So they have
right,
accordingly upgraded their whole curriculum in such a manner that on weekend people are doing practicals which students are doing on
yes,
weekdays. So it's running absolutely parallel with regular courses now. And most of the
right, ma'am.
faculty members, in fact, for these recognized institute are regular faculty members who take weekend classes there.
Yes,
So there is
right,
absolutely nothing lesser on that front.
absolutely. I think that would be a great relief for a lot of people. Ma'am, there's a
Yeah.
question from Sadia asking difference in what would be the difference of MSc and MA in clinical psychology?
Yeah. See, this is a very, Misbah, it's a very normal question which comes to me. Okay, I was expecting this question. Now, the important thing is, in our country, the way our mindset is, we always have categorized science stream higher than arts and commerce. Now, I'm talking
Yes.
about my own time when I was growing up. If you're doing science subject, that means you are capable. If you pick up any subjects dealing with arts and commerce, that means you are no good where academics are concerned. So, why these students are still facing this dilemma is because their parents are of my generation. Where if it's science
I
degree, a BSc and MSc, it's wow. If it's anything doing with other faculties, it's no good. Okay, this is one aspect. So we are very fast moving out of it, because if you see the popularity and the scope of commerce courses now in our society, when you talk of BMM, you talk of BMS, you talk of Bachelor of Accounting and Finance, BBI, there are so many which are coming up. Now the latest is Bachelor of Vocational Studies. That
Wow.
means for ticketing, for tourism industry, there is a separate bachelor's course. So if you look at now,
Right.
I would say that commerce is rocking. Okay, this is one aspect. So break that mental
Right.
set completely. Okay, if your parents have it, you can't do much about it, but you should not at this generation have such a mental mindset, I would say. Now when it comes to a BSc versus BA,
MSc versus
yeah,
MBA. Yeah,
or
right.
a MSc versus MA in
MA.
psychology, whether it's, yeah, MSc versus MA in psych, whether at undergraduate or a PG level in psychology. Okay, please understand there is no difference in the content of the course of psychology, whether it is a MA, it's a MSc, it's a BA, or it's a BSc in psychology. No. Okay, the only thing is, what are the additional supplementary subjects, add-ons which you are doing with these, with your psychology main papers.
Hmm.
You might be doing maybe a chemistry paper, you might be doing a physics paper. Here you will be doing sociology, you'll be doing English, you will be doing history. If you have some little bit of a any links with people from outside universities, they don't have this kind of a demarcation between faculties. You have a dual degree going, where an engineer is also becoming a historian at the same time. A person
Right.
who's doing his MTech is also equally interested in getting a parallel degree in English literature. So this kind of a dichotomy between the two, this thing, first of all, it does not change the course content of psychology. Only thing is, what are the peripheral things which you are exposed to? There is only minor changes in that. Like if you go to Madras University is
Mhm.
also offering a MSc in psychology. You go to Delhi
Yes.
University, you go to Mumbai University, it's always a M in psychology. See the course content, there is absolutely zero difference. So don't go by this, don't flow by this, which faculty and if science is more superior to arts. No, break that mindset completely.
I think, ma'am, it's going to be a lot of relief for a lot of people out there, because I can understand if you are saying that your generation, it was there. I think my generation, I have gone through the same thing. And we're
True.
talking about the generation right now. So I think a lot of students out there and those who are pursuing these modalities or psychology, you should be relieved that there's hardly any difference. It's upon what is the additional, knowledge that you're getting out of the degrees that you want to pursue. Okay. So there is a question, ma'am, from Fiza asking,
Yeah.
my parents also asked me to do a UPSC and leave psychology, but I already chose to become a psychologist. Okay.
Okay.
There's that's
Now I would
oh,
like to share with her a very personal experience. The moment she said
absolutely.
UPSC, yeah, because I was a science student, a CBSE student with maths, bio, chemistry, as well as physics, the usual combination. That means the way my generation was, keep all options of engineering and medical open. Okay, so I continued with CBSE, doing quite well. By the time I reached my 12th, I realized that I'm not interested in pursuing any science subjects further. Okay, I was in Delhi, of
Mhm.
course. Then the
Mhm.
question which hit my parents, the moment they realized, अरे science में नहीं पढ़ाई आगे करनी है, तो क्या करना है? So the only subject which we are all familiar with, because it was all science all around, was English honors.
Mhm.
Okay,
Mhm.
so I went and took admission in Indraprastha College, which is called as IP College. I went and took English English honors there. Then the moment I got back, my maternal uncle, who's a very high profile IAS officer, he was a gold medalist from St. Stephen's College in physics. Now he had taken that time UPSC, you had to opt for two subjects. So being a
Mhm.
physicist, hardcore physicist, he had taken up psychology as the second subject. And he
Mhm.
just happened to drop in. And the moment he came to know English, and my dream was to be to clear UPSC and be a IS officer like him. He was my role model. So the moment he came, he says, "What are you doing with English? It is not your interest." He says, "You shift to psychology." So next day I went and I shifted and cancelled my admission of English and shifted to psychology honors with the intention that I would be studying it only for UPSC, because it was considered the ideal subject for UPSC. Till date, it is considered so. And
Okay.
as I progressed from my BA, I went to my MA. Okay, my interest in the subject aroused to a level where the UPSC was thrown somewhere in the background, and I just continued with this subject. So, important thing, as I told you at the beginning of my talk, it should never be a mismatch with what career you want to take up later. The other aspect is others' interest in your career, which could be your family members, and what you deep down want to do. You should always pursue a field in which you feel it is of interest for you. 30 years down the line, you're not going to feel bored, bugged, you won't feel burnout. So think about it and then go ahead. I'm glad if you've taken a
Absolutely.
decision of psychology and you didn't get pushed for a UPSC thing which your parents wanted you to pursue. It's brilliant. It's very good.
Right. So, what are the kind of challenges the student faces while they are learning the our subject, which we are talking about, abnormal psychology, for that matter?
Yeah. See, the biggest, I would say there are, it's a very interesting field, as I told you. There are multiple challenges which come with that. Okay. Now we have to be prepared for it. First of all, as
Right.
I told you, again, going across the dimensions, there are 22 discrete categories. Okay. We are just taking to the
Right.
DSM. Now, under
Right.
each, you are dealing with the biological aspect, you're dealing with the psychological aspect, you're also dealing with the socio-cultural understanding of a particular disorder. Let's take eating disorder, because it is something which I would say the youth really relate to now. Okay, you are trying to
Mm-hmm.
understand an anorexia nervosa client. Okay, now you are trying to understand what is the biology, what is the psychology, what is the social and cultural factors dealing with that. Now the
Yes.
same client, different schools of psychology, whether it is Freudian school or you talk of behaviorist schools in which you have the Skinner, Pavlov, Watson, then you have the humanistic, Carl Rogers and Maslow, then you have the Beck's theory, Albert Ellis theory of cognitive, etc., etc. We can go on and on. Now, all these
Right.
are talking about the same client, same symptoms in a different manner. Okay,
Absolutely.
that means at the center you have one client suffering from anorexia nervosa. It has got multiple perspectives, first of all, which is nothing but biopsychosocial perspectives and cultural added to
Mm-hmm.
that, and different
Mm-hmm.
schools which are trying to discuss the symptoms. They are trying to tell you what could be the causal factors, and they are also trying to tell you what are the different treatment plans from the same client. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Now, when you're
Yes.
trying to read anorexia nervosa for this particular client, let's say Mr. X, I'm going to not going to use Ms. X because anorexia has been seen in males too. So
Yes.
let's talk
Yes.
about
Yes.
Mr. X now. Now you are trying to understand and you realize you're bombarded, overwhelmed with so much of knowledge, so much of horizons, dimensions of knowledge. Okay. Now the only way to cope up with that is flow. Flow with the knowledge. Now, when you talk of Freud, who's talking about some kind of a inadequacy deep down, some kind of a unconscious instinct which is operating, and you talk compare it to behaviorists, they said no, it is just stimulus versus the response reaction.
The response.
Then you talk about Carl Rogers, he says nothing. It is nothing wrong with the individual. It is only the hurdles created by the society, by the family. So you really don't know what to believe in. So
Mm-hmm.
currently, I would say when you are in an undergraduate level, you just have to soak in. As you're flowing and gathering information like a sponge, gather, gather, gather. Okay. Slowly you will realize that something appears, some school of thought, some particular dimension appears more appropriate for you. It might not be appropriate for your friend sitting next to you. Okay, that's okay. But important thing is this overwhelming knowledge is a major challenge. Okay, and then everything, like the moment you see, I'm convinced that it is the behaviorist orientation which is the best. Next, the person does a counter argument to you, and suddenly you realize you're flowing with that person's counter argument. There's nothing wrong with that. It is just soaking in information. It is just broadening your own perspective, horizon, and understanding of Mr. X suffering from anorexia nervosa. And tomorrow, when you're sitting as a mental health practitioner, forget about that. If you're sitting next to a person who might be hiding that he has got those symptoms, they're very good at hiding these symptoms. Suddenly you realize that because of so and so, so and so, so and so, I think he's suffering from this particular disorder. Now your horizons, your dimensions, your schools of thought, they don't matter. But you've been able to hit the nail where it is supposed to be hit. Okay, so that is a major challenge, the overwhelming information which we have. And see, you have to understand a very simple thing which happens in all the scientific fields where we are believing in empirical data. In this particular field of clinical psychology, there is, I would say, no gap between researcher and a practitioner. Everything is practice based and research based what you're doing. So today there is one particular researcher, one particular mental health practitioner who has practiced a particular thing. He's found it to be very, very effective, and he says this is the treatment for it. It's something like, let's take a simple thing about people suffering from a substance abuse disorder, alcoholics, drug abusers, maybe nicotine addiction with cigarettes, which is unfortunately becoming very, very common nowadays. Now, suddenly you find one person is propagating electroconvulsive therapy for such patient, and he said, I found it very, very effective, and the world flows with that. They say ECT is the treatment for such patients. 5 years down the line, some researcher and practitioner sitting somewhere else, they carry out with their own clients and they find this is highly unsuitable, this is highly unethical, and some other form of treatment is more important, something like Alcoholic Anonymous. Just create groups, just create buddies with you, just keep talking to each other and encouraging yourself to and the other person to kick the habit, and you find it very, very effective. So the biggest problem is with such dynamic scientific and empirical based field, what you believe today as an undergraduate student, by the time you are a PG student, by the time you're carrying out your own research practice, etc., those things might be kicked somewhere else and a new thing comes in. But that's the beauty of the field. That is why it is so interesting. We have been reading DSM-3, DSM-4, then it came DSM-4 text revised, which is known as TR. Now we are at DSM-5. Little struggle is there because your mindset is no, DSM-4 TR had this particular categorization, but you have to just soak in information and flow. So the biggest challenge is maintain a flexibility and an openness to the knowledge which is coming your way, because new things will keep coming.
Absolutely. I think that very well answers my question about challenges, as well as you've shared the tips to how to go about it. How to overcome those challenges. What kind of tips would you like to share, ma'am, to make the subject more interesting for people, for the
Yeah,
students,
that is,
basically?
see, first of all, among all the papers which I personally teach, clinical psychology is the most interesting subject for my students. Why? Is because when you're dealing with any form of psychological disorder, okay, we can talk about, let's talk about elimination disorder. Elimination disorder is neurosis and encopresis. A person is not able to hold his bowel movement, so the person is urinating, passing stool uncontrollably, involuntary way it's happening.
Yes.
You talk about conduct disorder, or what we call as impulse control, where you find that some particular celebrity is always in a rage. The person is in, we are not taking names here, the person is in a fight with the neighbors, the person is involved in road rage. Today we keep hearing of some people always involved in it. Some relationships break with their partner, they become highly abusive. Okay, all these things which you have. So, and another very, very appropriate, I would say, the recent suicide of a very popular, very loving celebrity among us. Okay.
Yes.
We don't really know whether he actually suffered from depression or what. I would not like to comment on that.
Right.
What we call as suicide ideation, thinking and planning for it, and maybe committing it also, successfully,
Mhm.
unsuccessfully, whatever it may be. Now the thing
Mhm.
is, whenever you're dealing with any such kind of psychological disorders, information reaching you is from multiple sources. Okay, media, print media, television, okay, reading books, novels, magazines, newspaper, so many things expose you to the terms, terminology of these disorders. Okay,
Yes.
so which means that you are, without realizing, you might not belong to a field of psychology, you might not have studied a paper on clinical psychology or abnormal psychology till now, but it's not that you have not been exposed to it. Okay, the moment people hear about depression, okay, moment people hear about suicide, moment people hear panic attack, or you are seeing one particular serial of let's say commandos of America, okay, the marine commandos, and suddenly you hear, I'm suffering from that, there's a diagnosis given to that particular hero, you are suffering from PTSD. Now you immediately go on a internet and you find out what is PTSD. Okay, which means that you have already gathered a lot of information from different sources about a psychological disorder. Now you are sitting and learning the true technical understanding of a particular disorder. Okay, let's say you are
Yeah.
studying PTSD, as one of the participant had asked. Okay,
Mhm.
obsessive compulsive disorder is also something which comes across a lot, including different type of sexual dysfunctions. Now you have the pride parade going on, people suffering from gender dysphoria, you have people, the cases come in the newspaper, people flashing, okay, pedophiles, which means there is no end to the information which is reaching you. But when technically you start reading it, you realize there is too much of technical, authentic, empirical, scientific, objective information surrounding one particular disorder. Okay, so
Mhm.
what you're supposed to do is, all the sources from which you have gathered information, that does exist, but very very systematically you have to start categorizing, you have to start making your own notes, create your subtopics. I'm talking exactly like a teacher to a student preparing for an exam, because you
Right.
can't sit with a chapter. I always tell my students, I said, make your own subtopics, highlight important symptoms. Every disorder has got a sequence in which it has been presented. First they discuss the symptoms, then they discuss the causal factors, and then they discuss the treatment plan. You have to make your own concretized, summarized version of all this. Otherwise you
Mhm.
will just sink in the volume of information and the knowledge which you are gaining in. It's good to flow when the luxury of flowing is there, but when you're sitting and preparing for exam, you can't afford to that. You need to then concretize, make it doable for yourself. Make it, put it in a format where tomorrow when you need to retrieve it, tomorrow when you need to sit for an exam and produce what is required, you already have concretized, you already have picked up subtopics, important themes, important points, and then you present it. So I always tell my students, first of all, make your own notes, summarize notes, and after each subtopic which you have done, make a kind of a flow chart, and that
Mhm.
flow chart will actually flow your thoughts when you are trying to sit for an exam and recall a particular material to be produced. Otherwise you're going to just sink in the volume of information. Why so? I've told you that if there are many dimensions, there are many
Multiples.
perspectives,
Yes.
biopsycho socio cultural aspects to it, many schools of it. Now when you read one disorder and then you go to the next disorder and the next disorder, please remember there is a concept of comorbidity. Comorbidity means if a person is suffering from, let's say, depression, it does not mean that the person doesn't suffer from impulse control, the person is not paraphilic, the person is not suffering from anxiety disorder, which means one particular person has got multiple symptoms of different disorders coming from different categories as given by DSM. Now the problem is, if you talk of schizophrenia, let's take a simple example. Schizophrenia has been explained by dopamine hypothesis. Then came
Mhm.
serotonin, and you feel, oh, I know it all. Now the problem is, by the time you're in the fourth chapter, dealing with anxiety disorder, dealing with impulse control disorder, dealing with neurocognitive disorder, developmental disorders like ADHD, and other this type of Asperger's disorder. When you read that, you realize there is overlap. Suddenly, your own dopamine, serotonin, GABA neurotransmitters are flowing in that direction too. Where it is the disorder is being caused because of a higher level of a neurotransmitter, some genetic abnormality is the reason, versus where it is because of a lower secretion of a particular neurotransmitter, it becomes very confusing. Very confusing. So it is good to flow and gain knowledge, but when it comes to preparing for your exam, you need to make your concretized version of what knowledge has been given through the various references, make a summary chart, and at the end you should have a flow chart, highlight that my particular answer is going to flow in this particular direction. Now in this particular case, a lot of people, students have a habit, because every single disorder, you pick up any textbook, it's full of real life. There are various sections which are dealing with real life stories and small case studies. Okay, one second. Yeah, so there are case studies, there are real life stories. That is what is the crux of understanding each of these disorders. Now important thing is, whenever you're writing your answer, you needn't quote these real life stories, you needn't quote the case studies. They are for your to energize yourself, to make you have an in-depth understanding. You don't have to do that. And many people have an habit of, really, they feel that learning psychologist's name, one disorder will have some 50 psychologists who have done research on it. Some of the students get bogged down that we need to learn this particular all the psychology. It's not needed. You don't need to quote them. You might not. You don't need to remember all their names. Nothing. Just few important prominent psychologists. That's it. So it becomes a very doable paper which catches on people's interest tremendously. Tremendously.
Absolutely, ma'am. Any more tips that you would like to share besides what you've already given, that interesting tips for the students while preparing for the exams?
See, that tips, I would say it would be more appropriate to give the tips to the faculty members, because whenever we are I at a personal level, I'm teaching a particular disorder. I always start building the additional activities surrounding that. Okay, it could be role play. So I give them a situation and people are doing role play. Okay, others are watching and one group is doing role play. Then you give it's like if using of ECT for substance abuse disorder. Okay, debating, group discussion. Those who, one group pro, other group anti. So this is the way where others are. First of all, you are performing, others are watching. In some situation, you are the audience. So it goes very well. Then other aspect is we what I generally do is I give them a therapy. Okay, I said decide which disorder you want to do and show a form of therapy. We have very nice therapies. We have something known as assertive community therapy. Okay, it's called as ACT. Okay, which is the latest thing. In ACT, the concept is you get the mental health practitioners, which could be, again, when I say mental health practitioner, it's a huge term. Even your recreational therapist, your they are those teaching speech therapy, play therapy, art therapy, they are also part of it. Your social workers, your nurses, psychiatrists, psychologists, sociologists are all part and parcel of it. So under assertive community therapy, they say, okay, your client is not ready to come to you. You as a whole body of knowledge, experience, concern, reach the person, either at his work or at his home. So this, now you have to show me how do you carry out this assertive community therapy, project it so that others also learn. Then we carry out through various analysis of important characteristics in books, in films. Okay, carry out a character analysis of the person. That is also something very interesting. So one person who has read a particular book, maybe Sybil, they have read, they are talking about multiple personality disorder, which we call as dissociative identity disorder. Now we call it as a DID. So all these things can be brought about its in-depth understanding through these varied activities. So it needn't go only reference to textbooks and reference book, which, as I said, becomes overwhelming, and it might become little monotonous also. So
Yes.
like if you're dealing with let's say you're dealing with biological factors, causal factors of schizophrenia. Okay, now you
Mhm.
have some people who have done CAT scan, they have some information about PET. There is some other form of MRI people have done to see what cognitive dysfunctions these people have. So we know frontal lobe is a part which is defective, then they have ventricular enlargements which are there. Just a video shown to people, a video shown about the brain of a normal brain versus a schizo brain. Now the moment you show that in a documentary, you discuss it, the impact is different. So these are the ways where you bring the subject alive, and you might just forget the lines, the text written in your book, something from the role play, something from the GD, something from your maybe I made you make a poster. Simple. You made a poster, something clicks you at that particular time. Someone had done a character analysis somewhere. It just comes, jumps to you, and you know exactly what to frame and what to write there. So that's why I said the scope of this particular field is so much. It is limitless, I'm telling you. Because the source of
Absolutely.
information which you are getting is from multiple sources. There's no end to it. So you can do multiple activity, and this is what I encourage my students to do that.
I think I completely, ma'am, second your thoughts on that. That it's so interesting and so vast that you can keep going on and on. Ma'am, there are a
True.
few questions from our viewers. I'm going to
Sure.
take it up.
Sure. Yeah.
So, so Niharika is asking, what hurdles do students who have done their BA in psychology face during masters against students who have done BA honors in psychology?
Yeah, that's a very, very valid question. Now, see, in Delhi University, we have honors courses, which could be in any subject, and you also have something called as pass courses. Okay, so it's like BA Psychology Honors versus BA Pass. Okay,
Mhm.
now as that university offers honors courses, you have a choice there. Correct. In Mumbai University, in this particular region, we do not offer honors courses, first of all. So if I talk about my own student in Delhi University terminology, I'll say they are doing BA Pass. Okay. Now in honors courses, you select your subject, which is of interest to you, and in all the 3 years, your focus is only on that particular subject. So you will
Mhm.
have five papers, six papers in each semester, only dealing with psychology. If you're doing a psychology honors course. Okay, and in addition, you have something like what we have a foundation course here,
Mhm.
supplementary papers. They are there in Delhi University also. So but important thing is practicals you start doing right since you are a first year student. So by the time you finish your graduation, you have studied almost, I would say, 5 times more papers of psychology as compared to a student who is doing a BA pass. Simple. Which means if you compare the knowledge which a person with honors course has with others, of course there is nothing more to be added to that. Now this is one perspective which I'm telling you, because my experience is such that I've studied from Delhi University and I'm teaching in Mumbai University. The other thing is, when I talk about my own faculty members, my colleagues who are from Mumbai University, they defend this system, and they say, how can a first year graduate decide what is the subject of their interest? It is better to expose them equally to at least 3 subjects, which is what our Mumbai University follows, and let them decide by the time they reach third year. In third year, you can
Mhm.
do majors in a subject which is of your interest, and they feel like now, as I said, in UPSC that time you have to opt for 2 subjects. Now it is sticking to only one subject, so they felt that your horizon and your knowledge is much more of different subjects when you do a BA pass course. And if you want to really stick to a particular subject, and you know right since you are a child of 13 to 14 that you want to be a psychologist, then it's a different ball game. Then go in for a honors course. If you're still dilly dallying, क्या करना है, ये अच्छा है नहीं है, मुझे तो बहुत subjects में interest है, I like reading about English literature, but I also love reading about history. It is the geographical aspects which is of interest to me, or I love political science and debates on it and stuff like that. Flow with that. You have 2 years of your graduation to decide which is of interest to you, and then plunge into it. In TY do majors, it doesn't affect you at all. And by the
Right.
time people reach MA, mind you, whether people are from BA honors or they're doing from any BA pass course, MA courses in any subject across universities in India, they are all on par with each other. Maybe a BA pass student might have to, who's done a major only in the third year, might have to have an initial struggle, but not much. And most of the
Mhm.
university, there are some university like I did a webinar with Ferguson University faculty members from there. In
Mhm.
MA, they at the first year MA part one itself, they bifurcate and make the people select their area of specialization. That means those who want to
Okay.
go for clinical psychology, counseling, industrial, developmental, social, they are bifurcated right since first year. That is MA part one, what we call it. Most of the
Right.
universities don't do that. For most of the
Mhm.
universities, irrespective of what is of interest to you, the MA Part 1 syllabus is the same. You go to
Okay.
your specialization in MA Part 2. And most of the MA Part 1 is takes you from a baseline and then it skyrockets for you. So maybe you might have a
Yes.
little struggle, but I don't think it is, you cannot cope up with that. Not at all. So I would not say one is better than the other. As I told you, if you are a very smart, very self-aware person at a very young age, plunge into an honors course, whichever university offers. If not, at least get a feel of different subjects which are of interest to you and then take a plunge.
Absolutely, ma'am. I think,
Yeah.
Niharika, that very well answers your question, what ma'am has talked about. There's a question from Gurneet asking, so the person has pursued a PhD in positive psychology,
Yeah.
happiness
Wonderful.
among adolescents, and has also done a 6 months training in hospitals as a clinical psychologist after postgrad. The person, she or he is from the small town and is unable to pursue teaching career due to Hindi medium. Could you suggest any certification course or internship in clinical psychology so that the person can pursue psychology professionally?
Yeah, I would congratulate the person for getting these degrees and for excelling at this particular level. The only sad part is that most of these reputed universities are all doing teaching in English medium. It's and then it could be the vernacular thing, like if you talk to SNDT, like if we have a university, just to apprise him, I don't know from which area he's from. So if a person wants to study any higher education in psychology from Mumbai, the
Mhm.
girls have a choice of either going through Mumbai University or going from via SNDT University, because SNDT University is women's university. Boys
Right.
unfortunately don't have a choice; they will have to stick to Mumbai University only. Now, SNDT
Yes.
colleges, there are various colleges affiliated to both the universities. Under Mumbai University, we have more than 740 colleges. SNDT University also has many affiliated colleges. Now, SNDT
Mhm.
colleges in Mumbai are generally English medium. Okay, and in very remote parts, they do offer in vernacular medium. In Pune, all the
Right.
colleges which are affiliated to SNDT are offering the higher studies in Marathi medium. So it all
Yes.
depends. Now I think he should explore the northern belt in case he wants to pursue the further teaching line in Hindi medium. Because starting from central India down south, I don't think Hindi medium is used anywhere. So you have the Uttar Pradesh, the Madhya Pradesh, the Delhi, the Rajasthan belt, which would have Hindi medium at some
Hindi.
place. Otherwise,
Yes.
the only way to go about is, I would say, do courses, small courses, bridge courses, which builds the English tempo in the person. Because even though we
Right.
say our national language is Hindi, but generally everything which we are pursuing is in English. So it is, I would advise him that it's high time he picked up a little bit of English. Even if he is not fluent and conversant in English, there's no problem. As long as he can have the terms, he can speak the basic terms in English, it's more than enough. So I think I would
Right.
advise him to become little more conversant in English. And the northern belt is
I'm
the
sure.
only option which I can see, nothing else.
Yes, I think Gurneet, that gives you a lot of options that you can explore what ma'am has suggested. There's also a question from Payal asking, she's pursuing MA Psychology Clinical, but after MA, she wants to provide therapy and treatment plan too, along with testing and diagnosis. Could you please suggest
Beautiful.
what other course other than MA should be pursued?
No, I think she is, what I could gather, is it experimental psychology which is of interest to her? There are various diploma courses which are offered where there
Mm-hmm.
are various forms of therapies which are taught. Suppose, as
Mm-hmm.
I gave you an example about alternative therapies in like art therapy, you have play therapy. There are other type of therapies also which are used. Whichever are of interest, I think internet is the place to access the information and to see and pursue the diploma courses there, because with a background of MA clinical psychology, she'll be able to cope up with any form of therapy which she wants to practice. And let me tell you the important thing, like in fact, I would tell you, like as I told you, from a science stream I shifted to a art stream.
Yes.
All the psychology courses across
Mm-hmm.
our country, right from the
Mm-hmm.
BA level, there are two
Right.
subjects which are common for all the universities. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
one is the course on statistical testing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's a paper, it's a proper paper
Right.
throughout the 3 years of graduation, throughout your MA. We are not going beyond MA, the 5 years of when people study psychology. So statistics is your exposure, and what you call a physiological psychology, which is nothing but psychology
Clinical.
blended with biology. Okay,
Right.
so I think with 5 years of studying statistics, a person is very, very in tune to carry out any kind of experimentation and statistical analysis. Like when I was doing my studies, and when we were doing our PhD and stuff like that, we used to use the SPSS package, which is statistical package of social sciences. Currently I think the 20 version is the one which people are using. Now when I see, the SPSS package is no longer very popular because it has got its limitations. So now people are using something called as R tools. Okay, capital R tools.
Mhm.
So
Got it.
that is the one which is really catching up. And under Mumbai University and SNDT University, the full statistical paper of your MA exposes you to those tools. So I think with 5 years of rigorous education in the field of psychology, if a person wants to carry out any kind of assessment, diagnosis, experimental psychology, they are well versed with these things. Very well versed.
Right, ma'am. I think,
And
Payal,
for
that
additional
clear.
courses, diplomas, there are enough information on the net. You
Yes.
just type
Yes.
it out and you'll get the required information. Like I know Xavier's
Absolutely.
offers a counseling course a PG, a diploma course in counseling.
Mhm.
Ferguson College is offering a diploma course in counseling. So that there are various places which are there. That's not a problem
Right.
at all in India.
Right. There's also another. I think, Pal, that answers your question. And there's a question from Girish saying that how necessary are internship programs for undergrad students wanting to pursue masters in clinical or counseling psychology? It
Oh.
is difficult for Girish being in SYBA to find internship. Is it? It is important to better have a better college options in abroad as well as in India.
Okay. Now, see, this is a very, very beautiful question. In fact, I wanted to talk about it. See, I just told you that psychology is a empirical scientific field where the researcher, the practitioner, the budding psychologist are all interwoven very, very closely. Okay. Now, important thing is that we always, right since the first year of graduation in my own college, we are encouraging our students to do internships. Now, internship might not be any high flying internship. It could be just going to a NGO, to a orphanage and rendering your help. And let's broaden the term of internship, and I would call it as a CSR activity, corporate social
Okay.
responsibility, right? And we call it
Okay.
in our colleges, call it social responsibility, because we expect faculty members and students to be indulging in it. So important, like we have a Parkinson's society here,
Right.
where they want volunteers. They want students to go and be with the Parkinson patients at their home. Just spend couple of hours. You have old age homes also. in Pune and all,
Mm-hmm.
and good old age home. There's no stigma. There's no stigma should be attached to these institutions. So your internship could be a helping hand to a poor and needy child, to a orphan, to a poor, to a old person. It could be anything. Important thing is you are learning a lot of things from interacting with people, children, old people who are unlike you. Okay. And when you talk about that, that is why this college social responsibility internship should be the major impetus for students from the first year onwards. Now, considering that it is not available, there are NGOs, there are such homes, there are orphanages which are rampant in every single city, whether a big city or a small city in India. So there are
Mm-hmm.
slums all over. You can go and
Mm-hmm.
to start teaching, carrying out, take evening classes for the women there who are illiterate, the children,
Yes.
minor who are forced to work. So these are all internships. You don't have to have a grand internship, and moment you are spending few hours with them, you might not come back with a certificate. It's not needed, but at your own level, at a intrapersonal level and interpersonal level, you have gained tremendously. And in
Yes.
proper well established institutions and departments, we have the whole list of internships which students can do. You have Akanksha, you have Spastic Society of India. The list is endless. You just surf the net. And all these institutes, the biggest problem is that the recipients who are waiting there for us, the numbers are very large. People who can
Yes.
give them that kind of a helping hand are very, very limited. So whatever nature of help you can offer, it will be appreciated. Like I remember one of my students wanted to do internship, so I had a contact with Spastic Society of India, so I approached the person. So when she went there, they said we have our counselors and everything in place. The biggest problem which we are having is we are not able to tabulate our data. Okay, so this girl was sitting and tabulating the data. She is watching the other student children also. She is part and parcel of the society, of that particular society. She is not
Organization.
directly dealing, she's not doing any kind of a counseling with the student, but just being there, she learned so much. Throughout a 1 month, she was just sitting and making their registers and tabulating the data from there. One of the other student
Mm-hmm.
who went, they said, can you just help us to mend and put our cupboards in order? She did that. She learned so much. So internship is nowadays a very hype term. I feel, it should
Yes.
be at your personal level. What social responsibility, what help you can deliver. That's it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you should
At
start
times.
early. You should start
Yes.
early. Yeah.
Yes, that really makes sense because people come with a notion that हमें यही चीज करनी होगी वहां
सही बात है.
जाके. I
हाँ,
think
हाँ.
when you go for any kind of internship, keeping your mind open, के aside from tabulating data, that it would be considered at a lower level job. वैसा बोला जाता है, but I think that's there also you're learning and you're also observing, as you rightly stated, that you got to know the person got to know about, a lot about the other people around also.
Absolutely.
So
And there was one more related thing which he asked about pursuing studies here and abroad and what is the impact. Now, all those
yes, yes.
people who are preparing for any higher education, you want to do a MS, you want to do a PhD, whatever you want to do, you want to do a plain MA in any particular subject, everyone is aware of the fact that whatever CSR activity you have undertaken, as I said, you needn't show it in terms of a certificate. Just whatever experience you have gained, the moment you cite those experiences, your the way they look at you changes. You are a notch
Absolutely.
above the others who might be maybe in academics, in their grades, they might be much higher than you. It does not matter. But your CSR activity, a high profile internship or whatever, is something which you which is something which is going to hold you very, very in high esteem when it comes.
Absolutely. I think that's the on-the-job experience that really, uh, you know, envisions us, and it counts a lot actually. And that's where
Yeah,
you
yeah.
learn
See,
also.
like I would like to add here one more thing. Like when internship is a norm and a necessity and part of the educational curriculum of air psychology at MA level. Okay, it's like students are
Yes.
coming for 3 days for their course content learning, and 2 days they are 2 of a week they are at internship drill. Okay, now it is surprising that some places the internship, they all the departments have tie-ups with different places, whether it's industries, it's any psychiatrist, is any other mental health practitioners, etc. Now in some cases the internship is free. Okay, in some
Yes.
cases you have to pay to be an intern with them, and in some cases
Yes.
they are paying you, they are giving you some kind of a stipend. So
Stipend.
it all
Yes.
depends. So money is not a factor which comes there at all. It depends on your contacts and the way you want to take it up forward. The scope is tremendous, I'm telling you, in a country like India, wherever you are
Yes.
placed.
I think I totally agree with you on that part. So there's also one more question from Kunti asking that, hello ma'am, I'm doing a MA in clinical psychology and I have been working in this field from last 9 years. From last
Okay.
1 year, I am conducting life skill sessions with TESS SVE students, and I've observed I have a good control over class and getting good feedback from students too. So I would
Yeah.
like to go for a NET exam or a SET exam, which is a better option. And she's from Mumbai.
Okay, okay. Now see, as I said, the UGC is conducting this exam, National Eligibility Test exam. Now, the moment you are appearing for an exam at a national level, you can apply for a teaching job anywhere in India. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are appearing for a set exam, it is every state also conducts at its state level. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
if you clear a set exam in Maharashtra, that means you can apply for a teaching post only within Maharashtra. So if you are sure that you want to spend, you are going to spend your whole life in Maharashtra, then I said you go in for SET. And as it is a state bound thing, it is more based on the state syllabus and it is easier. If it's a net exam, which is a national level, which is giving you a applicability factor all over India, obviously it's tougher to crack, and tougher means sometimes the pass percentage is 1.8% all India, sometimes it's 3%, sometimes it's even under 1% at the NET. So it is quite tough. So I would say, as she is a well-established person practicing life skills, teaching and test, I think she is quite sure that she will be in Maharashtra. Then she should clear the SET exam. And it's very important to remember that if you are planning to teach at a college level, okay, no colleges can hire you if you are neither set nor net qualified. Please remember that. That is the benchmark for taking you. Otherwise, what are where there is a dearth of qualified candidates, what they do is they will hire you. You will have the full workload. Okay, that means you will be taking the lectures exactly like others, but you will be a contractual worker there. You'll not get any benefits which others are getting, and your salary will be, at least I would say, half the normal salary. They cannot give you
Okay.
because you are not fulfilling the basic baseline criteria. So
Mm-hmm.
if anyone, I always tell my students, if you plan to go higher, pursue research, and anyone has a plan for pursuing teaching field at college level, I'm not talking of school level, then either net or set exam is your first priority. Like all of us at my generation, by the time we were in the MA part 2, the fourth semester, all of us had sat, it was like a done thing at Delhi University that everyone will sit for the net exam. So we
Mm-hmm.
cleared with my MA. I had cleared my net. I cleared my junior research fellowship also. Let me give this bit of information also. I'm not aware
Sure.
of the state level, but at the UGC level, first is your net exam, and people from each subject they create a merit list all India, and those people who are highest on the merit, they pick up about 2 or 3 students per place and stuff like that, where they offer scholarship to do your PhD. That time even the option of MPhil was there, which is known, and you are called as a JRF, which is junior research fellow. After you have pursued your research work and you're continuing with that, after 2 years you become a senior research fellow, and UGC is giving you full scholarship to finish your research work. So when I cleared my net, I was highest on the merit, so I had also got the scholarship to do my PhD. So I'm also, like, for my qualification I write NET and JRF. So one good thing with that is that with your scholarship you are doing your full PhD, which is quite an expensive thing. And but the only criteria and the thing is that if you are availing the scholarship, you cannot take any form of employment. So if you're working, either you continue work and do your PhD, you will be a JRF
Mm-hmm.
because you have
Mm-hmm.
cleared at a highest possible merit,
Mm-hmm.
or you quit your job, use the scholarship and finish your PhD. Like in my own college, we have I'm a JRF, and two youngsters we have. One is in the maths department and the other is in the English department. Both these young children cleared their JRF, but by the time they cleared, they had already got confirmed full-time job at JHIN. So they forgo their scholarship and they are doing PhD on their own kharcha. But JRF
I think
is
makes
a
sense. Yeah.
qualification which will be there against your name.
Absolutely. I think, ma'am,
Yeah,
there's a tremendous amount of knowledge that we are gathering from you. I mean, I'm sure these students are going to make the most out of it.
I hope so.
There's
I
also
hope so.
one more. There's one more question coming. Though we have passed our time, but I'm going to take two, three more questions
Sure,
before we
sure,
come to
sure.
the end of the session. I hope you would be fine with it.
Absolutely, no
Um,
problem. Mhm.
Okay, ma'am. So there's a question from Sadia asking that can we do diploma in psychiatry after BA psychology?
Oh
Cause
my God. I
psychology,
know, I know.
cause psychiatry is a science subject.
See. Now, again, a very important thing which students of psychology need to understand. The moment you call a person a psychiatrist, he is a MBBS doctor. Okay.
Yes.
When you talk about a person of psychology, okay, the person is a psychologist. We do not have MBBS degree, though in front of our names we write doctorate. Okay, we all write DR, which in case you are aware, the government, it was a big movement. The government said that MBBS doctors are should not write DR in front of their name because they are not PhDs in their subject. I don't know where that
Mhm.
movement died. So they said only people who have done PhD in any subject are authorized to use DR, doctorate of philosophy, in front of their name. Okay, I think it'll come later, so that there's a clear demarcation. So when you are talking about a psychiatrist, he is a MBBS doctor. When you're talking of a clinical psychologist or a counselor or whatever, their specialization subject is psychology. Okay, please understand this very, very clearly. So when it comes
Right.
to what is your role as a clinical psychologist, I'm not talking of other fields, we are sticking to this particular field. You are either you practice as a clinical psychologist. What are you doing here? You are carrying out, you are making, studying your client. Okay, you are making the whole case history of your client. Okay, everything which is called as case formulation, you carry out cultural formulation, you carry out family formulation, which basically means is you are understanding your client, writing everything about and gaining knowledge about your client before you prepare a treatment plan for your client. As I said, different modalities. You want to carry out a individual therapy, family therapy, community therapy, group therapy, everything is with you. Okay, so there are people who are clinical psychologists practicing independently. When you are a young budding clinical psychologist and you will be doing internship, it is very much advisable that you try to work with someone who's more experienced clinical psychologist, or get attached to psychiatrist, proper doctors.
Yes.
So there is a total alliance between a psychiatrist and a clinical psychologist. Psychiatrists are more focusing on your brain, more focusing on your body anatomy and your physiology, your neurotransmitters,
Yes.
your genomes, your genetic makeup, your chromosomal abnormality, etc., etc. We have something called as a genome link studies, genome wide linkage studies. These are all studying your genetics. Okay, they are studying your neurotransmitters. There are psychiatrists that means basically they are studying the body and the brain, body
Yes.
anatomy. Okay, most of the psychiatrists do not have the time to have periodic meetings with their client and have the whole case formulation done. So they are helped in the understanding of the behavioral aspect, the feelings, emotion, intrapersonal, interpersonal, family relationship, job problems, issues which that particular client is facing. That full bulk information is provided to a psychiatrist by a clinical psychologist. Okay, using
Absolutely.
that and the various bodily examination which is done, these two will decide, do you want to carry out psychosurgery? Okay, you do want to carry out any kind of a brain surgery, you want to have any psychotherapeutic drugs which can be given to a person, you want to carry out what is called as deep brain stimulations, you want to do ECT, you want to give certain supplements, Prozac, Paxil, all these are different forms of drugs which are given. All these surgery drugs will be decided by a psychiatrist only, because he is dealing with brain anatomy and he is trained for it. Everything
Absolutely.
which is dealing with psychotherapy,
Mhm.
case study, understanding your patient will be done by a clinical psychologist. So no person from the field of clinical psychology can do any diploma, any course in psychiatry. For that you have to be a MBBS doctor. You can leave your clinical psychology, you can sit for a NEET exam here, and you can become a psychiatrist after your MBBS and doing your MD. That you can decide to do. But when you are practicing an established clinical psychologist, you cannot start performing surgeries. We cannot prescribe medication, nothing. Okay? We can do
Absolutely.
therapies. Yeah.
I think,
This is
ma'am, very
also
well
a
put
very, very
across.
popular
Common,
question which comes across.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, and I'm sure people are able to demarcate clearly that what are the roles of each, the specialist in their field.
Yeah, true, true.
There's also one
Equally
question
important.
from
Both play equally
equally
important
important.
role.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They
No
work
doubt.
as a team. That's what we understand, and I'm sure
Correct.
you would second my thoughts on that. Um,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
uh, yeah, and there's one more question coming from Shweta asking that if anyone has passed MSW after
Yeah.
5 or 6 years, will they can go for a therapy course? Can they go
They
for a
can,
therapy course?
definitely. MSW
Yeah.
is a rigorous course and they can do
Yes.
diplomas and they can definitely specialize in any particular therapy. Like I had a
Mm-hmm.
webinar for my students where there was our ex-student who has pursued studies in
Mm-hmm.
this what is that, Freudian psychoanalysis.
Second. Okay.
In that she was telling me that there are a handful of people from psychology who are studying that therapy, and there are people from different walks of life. There's a person who was all this while dealing with advertising field. There's a person who is
Wow.
dealing from the science field, and now they have decided that they want to be psychotherapist. So they are now studying Freudian psychoanalysis. The whole institution is there in Fort in Mumbai. So you
Okay.
can pick up
Okay.
any particular thing, and MSW gives you a real, I would say, leverage for actually expanding and stepping into various fields.
Right. I'm sure that answers your question. And there is one question from Pratana asking, I have done industrial psychology and would be more willing to go for employee counseling rather than HR. Any advice that to proceed
Yeah,
that you would?
absolutely. I would say go by your interest, and
Mhm.
maybe you have the temperament where you will be a good counselor. Only thing is, you need to do some kind of a diploma courses, add-on courses,
Mhm.
or
Mhm.
get attached to something like Misbah's Institute, become part and parcel of it, volunteer services so that you really learn how to deal with the clients which come across to you. So after
Absolutely.
industrial, not directly jumping into that, no, either do diploma where you'll get a diploma, basically means a lot of internship opportunities, hands-on experience, or simply as you have a background of psychology, get attached to certain institutes who are hands-on into counseling, and then go ahead.
Absolutely. I think choices and options are tremendous. It depends upon
True.
what is it that you fall for.
Yeah, true, true,
Uh,
true.
yeah, and two more questions before I wind up for the day.
Sure, sure.
There's a question from Aditi. Does Masters of Psychology from IGNU have relevance today? I
Of
think
course it
she's
does.
already she's put across a point. Ma'am, you want to share something on that?
Yeah, see, I
Um,
told you that IGNU, the over the years, has really pulled up their syllabus, and IGNU teachers are all regular college and university psychology faculty members. Okay, and weekend all practical exposure to all the practical paper is offered, and it is a very robust syllabus which they are following. I know because two of my colleagues from different colleges, they are regular teachers of IGNOU, and it is
Right.
they now IGNOU course is like any other regular course.
Yes. I- I've also personally gone through the syllabus, so I can
Yeah,
second ma'am's thought on that. There's also a similar question on a similar line by Chaitali asking that somebody who doesn't have a background in psychology and
yeah.
they want to pursue masters in psychology. So I think if you are looking at a distance course, then yes, IGNOU is there, and there is also
True.
Annamalai University. If I can,
And Idol also, IDOL,
Idol, or
Idol
yes,
of
Idol
Idol
or
of Mumbai
Idol is
University. Yeah.
absolutely. So
See,
you
I
have
would just like to share one thing here, that
yes, ma'am.
industrial psychology is offered as a paper for the third year BCom students in Mumbai University. It's a applied component
Mm-hmm.
paper.
Mm-hmm.
It's we call it as fundamentals of organizational behavior, because OB
Mm-hmm.
becomes a very important field in the corporate world. So I
Yes.
to my BCom students, and after I am just 3 to 4 months down teaching these students,
Mm-hmm.
at least
Mm-hmm.
every year 10 to 12 of my commerce students come and tell me that, ma'am, we are more suitable for psychology than anything got to do with commerce. Okay, now they want to change this field. It is good that after graduation, you during graduation, I would say, you realize that what is your field of interest. Go for
Mm-hmm.
any correspondence courses, because any established university will not give you as a regular MA to do, you know. So it is best to do it on a correspondence basis, and then change your field. There is absolutely no problem. And in fact, if you are practicing in HR, I would say your knowledge of psychology is imperative in HR department. And you
Absolutely.
and I, as Misbah has been part of the corporate world, HR people are the most disliked people in a corporate world.
Ask me, ma'am. Ask me that.
Yes. So how do you handle that? How do you handle that? So only when you
Uh,
have a psych background, you are well in tune to coping with it, and you're keeping all types of people or kinds of people or hierarchical levels satisfied and happy. It comes with psychology
Absolutely.
information for you. I would just like to add one thing very relevant here.
Sure.
Why
Sure.
clinical psychology at this particular time? We have a very popular model known as diathesis stress model. Okay, diathesis
Mm-hmm.
stress model. Now, this
Mm-hmm.
model is talking about the fact that we might be having a genetic, biological vulnerability for a particular disorder. We really don't know. It might be there inside our genome, our genetic makeup, and we might not even be aware of it. Now, with the second aspect, which is stress factor getting added to it, where our vulnerability is being tested. Currently, if you
Mm-hmm.
see this particular situation, so you had a
Yes.
genetic vulnerability, you had a biological predisposition which you are not aware,
Yes.
and you add
Mm-hmm.
on to the type of stress which either we build ourselves. Okay, we create
Yes.
a lot of stress for ourselves also, or it
Absolutely.
comes through various environmental uncontrollable factors towards us. We do
Yeah.
not know what is going to be the end product. Are you going to
Right.
come out hale and hearty, absolutely balanced, psychologically in control, emotionally well balanced, or are you going to crumble at some point? Okay, so it is very important to get a hang of this type of a paper, this type of a subject content. Tomorrow, if something happens, it is a self help for you, and you will be able to pick up any other near and dear ones who might require some timely intervention. So, when you are
Absolutely.
robust in this particular knowledge, it helps you as well as people around you to lead a healthy life. If you take about the celebrity suicide which happened, I mean, I was really surprised. Whatever information we have got through media, again, we don't know how authentic it is, but they said that
True.
the sisters knew about the fact that he was suffering from depression, and he was not taking any medication which was prescribed to him. If you know anything about this particular disorder, okay,
Absolutely.
depression, whether it's a major depressive disorder, it's a bipolar disorder. According to me, it was a bipolar disorder and not a depression, because the way his thought processes used to go, I felt that he had a little bit of a manic symptoms also, according to me. You are very well placed, and here by well placed, I'm not talking about passing judgment on others, no, or
Absolutely.
being too judgmental about yourselves, no. Not at all. I'm talking about something called as self-compassion, understanding yourself well, treating yourself kindly and gently, and also understanding the first sign of symptoms which people around you might show. People could be your spouse, could be your near and dear ones, could be tomorrow your children, offsprings, and you are able to either offer help or at the right time seek help of professionals. So it makes
Um,
you a very, very well placed in handling your day-to-day situations.
I completely agree and second those thoughts. It's so important. It creates a lot of your self-awareness for yourself, for your surrounding, for people around you, and you could anytime be that help to yourself as well as to others also.
Totally, totally.
Ma'am, one last question. I think I'm
Sure, sure.
quite enjoying asking you questions. There's
Me
a
too, me too.
question.
Don't worry. Go ahead,
Okay.
please go ahead.
So there's a question from Ruchita asking that she's pursuing a PG diploma in rehabilitation psychology and
Okay.
to practice as a rehabilitation psychologist. So whether she should do a MPhil in rehab psychology or a PhD in rehab psychology.
See, if you, again, as I told you, in many universities, they have de-recognized the MPhil degree. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
first, you should be very sure, and it's a very, to speak very, very logically and very, very bluntly, if universities are on the verge of de-recognizing a MPhil degree, even if you
Mm-hmm.
do it from a university which says, no, we recognize it,
Mm-hmm.
5 or 10 years down the line, there will be
Mm-hmm.
not much importance attached to that particular degree.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so my take is plunge for your PhD degree.
Okay.
Okay, because PhD degree will never become redundant
Mm-hmm.
because it's a in-depth, thorough work which you do spanning up to 5 years to 8 years. Okay, no university in India or abroad, wherever you go, will ever belittle your PhD degree because they know what amounts the amount of work which people have to put in. Okay, to get that kind of a degree. But if the MPhil is getting de-recognized, that means at some point people say, what is this MPhil? Our
Mm-hmm.
university doesn't recognize it. So I
Mm-hmm.
think I would advise for a straight plunge into rehab PhD.
I think it's a great advice. Just go for it, guys. You have a mentor, I think, out sitting there, you giving you exactly what you want. At times, you're looking at every corner and you have it right in front of you. Ma'am, last question from my side is what would be your message to the young budding psychologist or students of psychology that you would like to share?
Yeah. See, I would not. That this will not go specific to clinical psychology. My advice to my young budding psychologist is, if you are not aware, let me tell you that there was no subject like psychology. It was all part and parcel of philosophy. Okay.
Wow.
So how did psychology start evolving was that some of the philosophers started questioning and they started asking that why don't we derive empirical scientific evidence of what we are saying? That is
Mm-hmm.
what made a new field called psychology. Okay, and in psychology we always study individual differences. Okay, that is the
Mm-hmm.
crux of psychology. It is a study of individual behavior, differences among individuals. So as a budding psychologist, if you cannot appreciate individual differences, then you're a failure according to me as a psychologist. Whether
Okay.
it is in terms of attitude, religious orientation, community differences, racial differences. You have the black movement which is happening
Yes.
in America. You see the uproar which it has caused. What is the role of a psychologist here? Psychologist's role here is to appreciate individual differences and to accept people as it is. Just to add on to it, whenever any kind of a counseling and therapy used to be done earlier, again, as I said, it's a dynamic field where the practices are undergoing a major change. First, it was
Mm-hmm.
a quick fix type of a attitude which people had, psychologists, clinical psychologists, counselors, etc. That which means what? You come to me, I know it all, I'll give you the solution to it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now the concept has changed completely. Now
Mm-hmm.
it's like even if you're coming to me, my goal is to make you feel acceptable, make you feel
Yes.
empowered, make you feel find your own solutions so that tomorrow anything hits
Absolutely.
you, you're not coming running to me. So important thing about psychologists, budding psychologists, have a non-judgmental approach. Be a kind of a person who is receptive and accept everything which comes your way, and a flexible approach in life. If you have it in whichever organization you are there, you're dealing with clients, you're dealing with workers, you're dealing with your superiors, you will be a respected person in wherever you are, within family, in your neighborhood. So learn to recognize individual differences, accept it, and appreciate it. No two people are alike. Even your identical monozygotic twins with 100% genetic similarity, 100% same genes, they are temperamentally totally different. So how do you expect that the person who is completely disconnected to you will be exactly same and he'll see eye to eye? Nothing of that kind. So that is my advice to young budding psychologists: appreciation of individual differences, acceptance of others' opinion, and have a very broad, very flexible attitude throughout your life.
So well put across, ma'am. I really, I think that's what we need to be. Open about dealing or working with people, while just interacting with people for that matter. It could be anybody. So yeah, we have come to a beautiful end to this first episode of Psych Talks with Teachers. I had a wonderful time talking to you, interacting with you, asking you questions from my side as well as from the audience. Thank you so much, ma'am, for all your time and your inputs and your, you know, larger than life experiences, that I could say. And thank you for the audience for asking such wonderful questions and being there with us, as you've always been there, and you've been one supportive body which helps us to come up with different different programs that we could help to spread the word with respect to the mental health. And yes, I would also like to end this by actually saying that our organization at ICHAS, that is Institute of Clinical Hypnosis and Related Sciences, we do have different support groups that we run for psychology students as well as for practicing psychologists, wherein we discuss different challenges and how do we overcome it. And in case you have any such interest, you can definitely get in touch with us, or you can also visit ICHA's website, which is www.ichas.com, which is ICHARS. And we had a lovely time, and I'm going to see you all in the next week on next Friday. That is going to be 10th of July, and the episode is going to be about evolutionary psychology. So stay tuned till then and take care of yourself. Thank you so much once again, everybody who's been part of today's episode. And thank you so
Misbah,
much,
thank you so
ma'am.
much. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you so much,
Misbah. Thank you,
ma'am, for
Sanjana. Very fantastic endeavor, very fantastic initiative, and just keep
thank you,
going
ma'am.
like this.
Thank
Fantastic.
you
It
so
was a
much, ma'am.
beautiful experience speaking to you all and
Absolutely.
answering all the queries which came my way. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for being the part of it. And I'm looking forward to see you all again. Thank you. Have a lovely
Absolutely.
evening.
I end it all
And
always by saying Jai Hind. Jai Hind.
Jai Hind.
Jai Hind.
Okay. Bye, everyone. Have a lovely
Bye.
weekend too. Bye.